Do you play on the dark side, on the wild side? Do you live on the edge? If you're able to play with burnout and use it as a tool to intentionally move yourself forward, it's like playing with the dark arts in order to build a business and life that you love. And often on this podcast, we talk about avoiding burnout altogether. But today, we have the opportunity to talk with a business veteran who has been around for over 33 years in business. And he talks about intentionally using burnout to help move your business forward and recognizing how to navigate the ups and downs of change. If you're interested in another perspective on burnout and how to be able to have the resiliency that someone who's been in business for over 30 years has developed, then, my friend, this episode is for you. Let's go.
Welcome to the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. This is the place where you and your fellow empire-building entrepreneurs come to vanquish the burnout monster and boost your glow and cash flow with energy alignment techniques and tried and true marketing strategies. Since 7 figures won't get itself, hit that subscribe button and never miss out on your chance to skyrocket profits, tap into your intuition, and manifest your dreams. And now, your host, Powerhouse Story Brand Certified Guide, award-winning marketer, bioenergetic business coach, and Japanese whiskey lover, Alea Harris.
So, battling burnout is not quite the same as being Harry and Harry Potter and battling Lord Voldemort, but it can feel like that, right? I'm going to be embarrassed if I have to admit that I'm burnt out, or I can do it, I can do this battle, and then you feel defeated by the burnout monster. But what if you crossed over and made an unholy alliance with that burnout monster so that instead of feeling like it is your enemy, you can learn how to burn bright and have intentional burnout? Intentional burnout requires a level of confidence and clarity that is not for the newbie and is not for the faint of heart. If you're able to have the awareness of yourself and your business that you need to get clear on what's happening and where you're going to move forward and how to have that exit strategy out of that alliance with the burnout monster, then you might be able to kind of go to the next level of burnout management, which is actually burnout partnership. In order to get that level of awareness, you should really dive more into yourself. I do encourage you, as I always do, to go download our recalibration guide at flourishmarketing.co/recalibrate for recalibration strategies. But I want to talk about one of them here with you. And we've talked about this before, but it really is one of the best ways to get to know yourself, and that is through meditation. We have on the Flourishing Entrepreneur podcast many guided meditation episodes, but sometimes you just don't want to hear my voice. You want to hear the voice of spirit working with you and your higher consciousness to guide you to your greater potential. That's what this is about. So I encourage you to dive back into using the Anai Hue meditation. Anai is the Sanskrit name of when feeling of empathy, and Hugh is a Sanskrit name for God. It's literally you saying, "Hey God, can you feel my pain out there? Can you help? Can you help us out?" That's what you're saying when you chant it. And it allows you to get the insight and tap into your intuition to be able to understand if you are ready to partner with the burnout, if you're ready to use intentional burnout to your benefit. The Anai Hue sounds like Anai Hue. And you can chant it inwardly or outwardly. This is how you do it. First, you ask for the light, the highest, purest form of light from the universe. I usually end up saying, Father, Mother, God, I ask for the light. I ask for the highest, purest form of light to surround, fill, and protect me now for the highest good. So that way you know that you are safe and that you are protected when you enter into this experience of meditation, using a tone to channel your intentions. Then you do set an intention, but most of the time my intention is really just to connect, to realize that my humanness is really not all that hot. We don't know all of the answers that we need. So I am going to just be open to receiving from the universe. Then you can chant out loud out of your mouth, or you can chant inside your head. I just recommend coordinating the tones with your breath. You do an on-I on an inhale, a hu on an exhale if you're chanting inwardly, for example. As you're chanting, your eyes are closed and you're paying attention and drawing your focus to your third eye and the screen behind your closed eyes. That will allow you to tap into not only your pituitary gland, which is located, where your third eye is located more towards the center of your head, however, but it will also allow you to keep your intention focused and will make it a little easier when your mind begins to wander. Your mind will begin to wander. That's how this works. But by allowing yourself to chant for 5 minutes, be still for 5 minutes, chant for 5 minutes, be still for 5 minutes, you are tapping into the field of pure potential and allowing it to download information into you. So you get the clarity you need to understand how to better navigate your life and better navigate your burnout experience and your relationship with burnout. So again, it's the Anai chant that is located also inside of our recalibration guide. If you go to flourishmarketing.co/recalibrate, you can download it there. Being able to understand yourself and get information about yourself might mean that you also need to be more open to criticism, which we talk about inside of this episode. If you get more information and greater awareness and you do nothing with it, then you're just wasting your time. So the mantra for today's episode is I am flexible. I am flexible. Say it with me. I am flexible. I am flexible. When you're able to be flexible, you're able to change and grow. You realize that perfection is an abundance blockage because it tells you that you have already attained everything that you need to attain. It tells you that you already know everything that you need to know. So instead of being perfect, be growth oriented and be flexible, be coachable, be moldable. Allow yourself to cultivate yourself as you would a good intern, a good mentee, right? Be flexible so that as you are getting to know yourself, you are able to go to that next level of burnout management so that you can flourish in business and life. Kevin Dennis, our episode guest, has really perfected this in a quite an impressive way. With over 30 years in the game, Kevin Dennis, CWIP, certified wedding industry professional, is no stranger to the wedding biz. He entered the industry when he started Fantasy Sound Event Services right after high school, and funny enough, his intentions were to become a legit DJ and meet girls. I would say that has shifted and changed as he's been in the industry for so long. Over the years, Kevin's love for the industry also evolved and inspired him to become more involved in education, networking, and thought leadership. He served in multiple board positions for Silicon Valley NACE, as a trustee for the foundation of the NACE board, and as director for the national marketing and international president of WIPA for 2 terms. He's really dedicated his career to the growth and development of the wedding pro community. He also founded the Tri-Valley Wedding Professionals Networking Group, which has grown to a membership of over 700. On top of everything else, he also has Wedding IQ, which allows Kevin to develop a hub of information and opportunities for wedding professionals across the industry. And his visionary way of thinking has a lot in store to bring education to the forefront. I can't wait for you to listen in on my interview with Kevin, and also make sure that you leave that review and let me know on Instagram how you feel. Send me a DM at Flourishing Entrepreneur so that we can connect and talk to me about how you liked this episode and what else you want to hear from the Flourishing Entrepreneur podcast. Well, without further ado, let's get into my interview with Kevin.
This episode is brought to you by Strategy by Flourish Marketing. Most entrepreneurs are too close to their business to clearly communicate how they add value and stand out from the competition. Sometimes they even struggle to say what they do and offer. If you're confused, then your potential clients are confused, and confusion is a profit killer. That's why Flourish Marketing uses StoryBrand as the foundation for our products and services. The StoryBrand framework helps companies understand what their customers are looking for and how to position themselves to get those customers to pay attention. If you'd like help creating clear brand messaging for your marketing collateral, head to www.flourishmarketing.co/strategy and schedule a call today. You have only confusion to lose and money to gain. Visit www.flourishmarketing.co/strategy to get started.
Hey, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us here on the Flourishing Entrepreneur podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, even better because I get to talk to you, my friend.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I feel the same.
Yeah, well, thank you. So before we dive too much into the interview, I want people to know the wonderfulness of Kevin Dennis. So why don't you tell them who you are, what you do out there in the world?
Okay, sure. So I'm Kevin Dennis. I'm the owner and operator of Fantasy Sound Event Services in Livermore, California. I also run a wedding blog called Wedding IQ. This month, we are celebrating Fantasy Sound's 33rd anniversary. So we've been in business for 33 years, which sounds like forever. I started Fantasy Sound when I was 19 years old. I'll let you do the math to figure out how old I am. So, uh, but I got in the business because I was a nerd. And my neighbor was a DJ, so I'd hang out with him and help him out from time to time. But I was like, you know what, I can do this. I can become a DJ because the DJ got all the chicks. And so that was
I'm
my
glad your
whole,
priorities were straight.
and that's what was my whole goal to start. And then I never in a million years when I started to DJ for fun and do school events and different community events did I ever think I would still be sitting here today running Fantasy Sound Event Services, which we now do a lot of lighting, drapery, chandeliers, all that kind of fun stuff. So
Wow, and you definitely have staying power, I would say. There are not very many businesses that can say they've been around for 33 years.
well, I will say last year was the test, or
Yeah,
2020
the
was the
pandemic in
test.
general, right? But you're
That
still
was
here?
We're still here, still smiling,
Yeah.
barely, but I'm still smiling.
At least with one side of your mouth. One side of your
Yeah.
mouth got it, the other side of the mouth, it's okay. Because it's you, people like you, that have been through the fire, through the
Yeah.
rim, all of that, right? And so
Yeah.
you can help tell people how to do it, because this is not the first issue you've encountered over the past 33 years.
No, I'd say the pandemic was not the pandemic was tough, but also the dot-com boom and the recession of '08. That was another one that was really tough because our business was really focused on corporate work at the time. And I called it funny money. So we would like pets.com. I don't know if anybody remembers the little sock puppet that was on all the commercials.
I do.
Was one of our clients. And they would literally call us on like on a Tuesday, we were going to have an after party, this kind of thing on Thursday between 3 and 5. We need you, and it was just like, they didn't care how much it cost. They just needed it done. And it was like funny money. And, we had a planner we were working with that she would call and she goes, I got $10,000. What can you do for me? Instead of like, I need you to bid this out, like
Right.
it's weird. And so when that blew up, and even like NBC television in the Bay Area was one of our clients. And they still are. We do like about maybe 2-3 events a year, but back before, in about '07, I probably did almost 95 events for them. And then if there was an Olympic, or Conan O'Brien was coming to San Francisco, or any of these weird things, we were doing all these kind of crazy events, and all that just like vaped and gone. And so that's where I ended up in the wedding world where I am today. So
Wow, and I like what you're saying, and that's probably one of the keys to your resilience, right? Something happened in 2007, 2008, big recession. You could have said, "Well, guess I'm done. Guess I'm out." But instead, you use that to pivot. Ha 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 ha. Let's gonna get it in
I
there.
love that word. Don't we
The
all love
love that right. I love the word pivot. You use it to say, "Oh, well then how can we survive? How
yeah.
can we change? How can we make this better so that we'll still be around?" Right? Which is that similarly to what you did during the pandemic? Or
Yeah.
what
A
did you
little
do
I mean,
there?
pandemic, we couldn't do anything, right? So we were trying to figure out little things that we could do. One thing which sounds kinda crazy, but during the pandemic, we took the time and built a bunch of new inventory items. Because when are we ever gonna we repaired a bunch of our inventory rental items that we had that, like, oh, that could use a new coat of paint, or that could, use a little, juju, of that kind of piece of equipment, and we kinda did that, but we built a bunch of new pieces of equipment. But then the other thing was really random. I'm driving, at first we couldn't go into our office, and then finally I said, forget it. I started going into my office, and I was driving home from work one day, and the guy in front of me was a landscaper, but he had a thing that said holiday lights. And so I was like, I could put holiday lights on people's houses. I mean, what's the difference from putting holiday lights up on people's houses to doing weddings? And so that
Right.
was our pivot, and we almost did 35 houses. Like, we won some kind of grant through Facebook, where we got
Uh-huh.
like $1,500 worth of Facebook marketing, that
Uh-huh.
we could use Facebook ads. And so we created an ad, used all that Facebook marketing, and we ended up getting 35 houses. And that was something that kept us going in December, of 2020.
Wow.
We thought the world, and then what was good, because we were set to do 12 weddings in the month of December of 2020, because things were just starting to open up, and then they shut us back down again
Mhm.
at the beginning of the December. And so that Christmas lights has kind of kept my employees going, kept us going, and then in 2021 it was nuts. So
Oh my gosh, Christmas lights.
yeah,
So
but never in a million years, right? Yeah.
never in a million years. However, that is super creative, and I love how you said, "Well, what is the commonality here of what we're doing, and then what are people still needing?" It's like it's not an event, but we set lights up. We do lighting,
Yeah.
and it's December. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's what
It
33
was
years
like
looks
the
like.
end of October-ish. We just won that Facebook grant.
You know, Kevin, you are fascinating, and this is a different approach than I have heard. So, thank you. Because I normally ask people how they avoid burnout, but I don't even know if you burn out. And let me know because it sounds like you just burn bright. You find a way to make a way to avoid that burnout. Is that true, or is that something that is separate?
I would say it's separate, because I will be honest with you, I do burnouts. I would say 2021, I burnt out. It was the first time. I just looking back, I joke, I've always worked hard my whole life, but I have never physically worked as hard as I did in 2021 to get to recover, to get everything back, to start paying off the debt, just with you couldn't find staff. So, I was working from 8 o'clock in the morning till 1:30, 2 o'clock, the following morning, all that kind of stuff. And I remember we went through a stretch of 34 days in a row with weddings, where, because it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it was weekday weddings became a thing in 2021. And so it was close to when we went to Thanksgiving as a family to Maui. And so I just kept, my eye on the prize was, I'm going to Maui, and so I'm like, I'm going to work like a dog. I don't, I'm going to burn myself out, because for 9 days I'm going to do a whole lot of nothing in Maui. And that's, so I do burn out, but I don't know. I think you're right. Like, the burn bright. I like that term. I'm going to steal it and use it. But,
Feel
sometimes
free.
I think
Feel
as
free
a
to
business,
also cite the author,
yeah,
Kevin.
I
He
will.
is
Okay. Alea, famous Alea. But I think as a business owner, you got to do both. I mean, there's a balance of both, because I think if you stay stagnant, you're gonna fade out and go away. And I've seen that even when the pandemic hasn't happened, like business owners, like a venue changes their policies, and one of the vendors is like, I don't like this. I'm not gonna play by the new rules, and therefore all of a sudden within a year or two they're gone. They're out of business. You don't see them anymore. So you got to be. I hate change, but you have to change. You have to continue to reinvent and move forward. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's very interesting too because now, after listening to Kevin, the great Kevin Dennis, I'm like, there's a difference between intentional and unintentional burnout.
Yeah, I
You
think you're
said
right.
I intentionally was like, all right, we got these 34 weddings, but you knew that it wasn't just forever. You were
Mhm.
aware of what was happening and you're like, let's go. Right. And that's different than I think what a lot of people find themselves in, which is they look up and they're like, I don't even know if my face knows how to smile. How did I get here? Right. There's
Yeah.
a difference there. And I think your awareness around always you seem like you have this elevation to be able to see your life and the things around it a little bit differently, a little bit of height. So
No.
you're like, I'm going to burn out, I'm going to look at this, but I'm going in this direction.
Mhm.
Okay, what is the challenge? Let's take a step back. Let's think creatively. Let's think outside the box and move towards this new way as we're navigating change. And that is a secret sauce right there, sir, because there's not a lot of people have that. They find themselves a victim of their situation rather than feeling like they can even, it's almost like playing with the dark arts, like if you're Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I actually am going to use burnout to my advantage. Because you have mastery of your awareness of self. And I'm very impressed by that. I'm not able to do that. The burnout monster and I always battle, and it usually 99% of the time wins. So I'm impressed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think too is like before I even had staff, like I think part of it too is you got to have people to go to war with you. I always joke that sometimes weddings, I'm like, I have a bad joke, but like you get a good group of vendors together, right? And you feel like you can go to war. Like, so you're going to go to that wedding. We're going to kick some, and everything's going to be great. But then you get that one bad vendor in there that's going to ruin the whole thing. And so it's the same with me. I have great staff. I have great people surrounding me. Even from inside, outside, other professionals that I work with. So having a great team around you, I think helps because you can rely on them and and work together and bounce ideas off them. And sometimes they're like they get mad at me because I'm always they want to tell the client no, and I'm always like, yeah, yeah, we can do that. And they're like, oh my god, why did you agree to that? So I'm always
They're
the
like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so how are we going to do
yeah.
that?
No, and that's the next word out of their mouth. How the hell are we going to even do this? So
Right.
but
Well,
that's how I think we grow, because you push yourself to get outside the box and not do the same thing over and over again. And that's, I'll be honest with you, like I started out as a DJ. DJ, we don't do much anymore. I mean, I still DJ, we still do it, but it's not. I would have never survived the recession of 20 of 08 if I didn't have other things that I could do. So that was the big thing there.
Yes, I'm trying to crack your code, and another one of the other cheat codes that I'm pulling out from you is change and its relationship to resilience. And people, I think of resilience as like, if I just stand here and grit my teeth, I'm gonna just make it through. And you're like, actually, let's be a little more flexible and move through and change and dip and bob and weave. And I love that it doesn't seem like you really involve your ego in the process, because you could have said Christmas lights.
Yeah. No, I know, right? Yeah, no. I don't know.
Christmas lights are beneath me, right?
My ego does get in the way from time to time, but no, but you know what? But you gotta. I mean, I don't know. We'll talk about it later because that was one of my things I was gonna say. But some dollars come hard and some dollars come easy, and that was
Yeah.
something that was really stuck with me over the years. So it's you're gonna work hard. Sometimes they're gonna come real easy, and sometimes they're gonna come real hard. So
That was a word for me today. Because right now I have some hard dollars that I'm working on, and I mean easy dollars. Don't If you hear me out there, please come my way. I'm not
Come,
saying I don't want you,
come
but it
rain
is
down
about
on you.
perspective. Yeah, just rain down. But that is really great to keep in perspective, because I think a lot of business owners that don't maybe have that 33 years of experience expect all of the dollars to be easy dollars after a certain point.
No,
I
no,
think everyone thinks that it's like hard dollars in the beginning, right?
no.
But
There's,
then
I
they're
mean,
like, it'll
yeah.
just get easy and we're just going to ride off into the sunset. And that has not been my experience. It's been hard and easy and hard and easy, right? That's
Mhm.
been what you've experienced too,
Oh,
right?
for yeah, it's still to this day. You're like, oh, this is going to be some hard dollars we're going to get as we go, and or oh, this is, like we'll work an event and the client is super easy, and what else can I spend money on? Oh, I want to, I have more to spend, and that's the easy dollars. It's just like, and
Mm-hmm.
you get the one that, oh, I want 15 estimates and I only want to spend $1,200. So it just, I
For
don't
me, that's not even hard dollars. That's
know.
no dollars. I'm not talking to you no more.
Yeah.
I was just having this conversation in my one of my story brand like mini groups where we're in the guides of color section of it. And we were talking about when you are your own salesperson and you're the one delivering the service. So if you're thinking back to when you were the DJ and the salesperson, and people are like, well, I mean, can you even really do it? Like, they don't say it like that. They're not
No.
like, oh, can you do this? I don't know. Well, sometimes they do say it like that. And you're just like, I just crushed it at this other event. I am freaking awesome. And every single time you're having to establish yourself with a new person, and how difficult that really is. Every dollar feels like a hard dollar in that
Well, no, yeah, but
situation.
it feels like you're just banging your head against the wall, and it's just like you're not getting ahead because you feel like you're getting better at your craft, but yet you're still having to work really hard to do it. And I think the people that
Exactly.
continue to work hard are the ones that are going to succeed. The people that are like give up. Because there'll be a point in there where you're like, why am I even doing this? I've had many nights, or even mornings, early mornings, when I'm going to do it. Like, we used to do these running races in San Francisco, and I would leave. I'm Livermore, which is without traffic about 45 minutes east of San Francisco, but we're leaving like 3 o'clock in the morning to get over to San Francisco, and I'm like, there's times I'm like hitting the Bay Bridge about 4 o'clock in the morning, going, "What the hell?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?" And it just, it's just one of those, you learn and you figure out what you want to go. You figure out what you're going to get good at, and it'll come to you. So
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you are good at lots of things, and I'm sure you're good at even more things than I can think of. Sock wearing is one of them. I know that people cannot see your socks if they're watching the videos, but fun fact about Kevin Dennis, he always has the best socks. How many pairs of socks do you think you have, Kevin?
I've donated them. My son takes them. So I probably, right now, I have about 60 plus pairs that I've not even worn. So the trick is I wear a brand new pair of socks at every wedding or event that I work. So,
It's-
and that it's
And
become a
so
thing.
y'all do the math over 33 years. How
Well,
many
no, it
pairs
started
of
about maybe
socks?
8 years. Actually, it started 8 years ago. It came up on my Facebook the other day as a memory, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 8 years old. I've been
It's your
doing.
8-year sock anniversary?
Yeah, it was, and I was like blown away. I didn't even think it's been going on that long, and I was like, wow, it's been 8 years. So, and,
Okay, that's pretty awesome.
yeah.
But besides socks and, besides, your love of not waking up early to drive across the Bay Bridge, what are some other pro tips that you can give people who are trying to build their empire? They're wanting to not feel burnt out. They're wanting to get kind of like those cheat codes like I'm trying to crack for you. Do you have some advice for them?
I would say the biggest thing I learned over the years is you have to be able to set boundaries is one, so telling clients when you cannot meet with them, letting them know that I met with you today, and I'll be able to get you the proposal in 2 days, and setting those boundaries. So that's one. Another one would be scheduling time with yourself. So I'm a big time, I'll schedule out stuff in the day, what I need to do. I'm going to work on my email between this time. I'm going to work on my to-do list at this time. So you got to be able to schedule time with yourself, and so that's, lock the door, to your office. So, because that's the other thing. Like for me, I get people, my staff is coming in and out all the time. The only time sounds kind of crazy. The only time I don't get bothered is when I'm on something like this or on a Zoom call with a client. So sometimes I'll just turn on my Zoom to pretend like I'm on Zoom just so I can.
Okay, now that is a cheat code, right? I'm on Zoom. Don't bother me. Don't
No, I
bother
know,
me.
but so you got to schedule time for with yourself, because if you don't, you're that mountain, your to-do list will just continue to grow and grow and grow. So you got to learn to set, boundaries with your clients, but also boundaries with yourself. And even like, if I accomplish X, Y, and Z, I'm going to go do something I wanted to do, or I'm going to go buy myself something that I've always wanted to buy. You need to motivate yourself along the way as well. So those are
Yes,
some
a
of the things I've
reward
learned over the
system.
years. But the scheduling time with yourself has been a game changer for me. So
I've experienced that same thing when I've scheduled time for myself, and then recently I hired a personal assistant. Oh my gosh, my life has just transformed. It was funny because I took the first flight that she had booked for me. Same flight. I mean, not like she changed the airplane, right? She's good, but she's not that good, right?
yeah, yeah,
But there was something about it. I felt like, oh, I didn't book this ticket.
yeah,
I'm on the plane. Somebody else took care of
I've
me.
arrived.
I have arrived. And it was just about getting that time back, because it doesn't take that much time to book an airline ticket.
No.
It's the time that you take away, and then the time to get back to the other thing. And then, oh, where was I? Oh, I'm going to do it. Oh, it's on the bottom of my list, and now I've waited until the day before, and it's twice the amount of money that it should be, right? That's
And
where we're at.
yeah, someone told me one time too, is if you move something on your to-do list more than 3 to 5 times, like you're like, oh, I'll get to it tomorrow, and then you keep pushing it back, and you move it more than 3 or 5 times, then that's a sign that you need help. You need to hire
Yeah.
someone to help you, because you're
Yeah.
not being able to accomplish everything you need to accomplish in a day,
I
and so
love that. That's super tangible. If you
yeah,
move something on your to-do list 3 to 5 times, you need help.
yep. No,
I
and it's
love that because people are always asking, well, when do I start hiring? How do I know when I
mhm.
need help? What that very tangible advice right there.
Yeah, and if you're thinking about start with a virtual assistant. It's a safe, easy way to go, and it costs you a little more than an employee per se, but it's a good way to dip your toe in the water. I have
Yeah.
two. We use right now. We're using two virtual assistants.
Yeah. Yeah. They are game changing. That's what I started with.
Yeah,
And we've grown from there. So I love it. Love
yeah,
it, love it. So Kevin,
yes, ma'am.
you've been in business for 33 years and you started as a DJ, and it sounds like you just kind of rolled with it, but there's no magic bullet, right, to success. So, what would be the number one piece of advice you would give your past self, that 19-year-old kid DJ, or maybe the 20-year-old who existed about a year after starting your business?
So I was going to say that some dollars come hard, some dollars come easy, because I cheated and I looked at the questions ahead of time that you sent over. So that was one. But I can say that I could give you a little something that happened to me. So I was 23 years old. My dad is like semi-retired, but still works for the same guy, but owns a big transportation company in the town next to us. And so he started like a BNI group, but it was it was not associated with BNI, and we met every Wednesday morning in the town next to me, Pleasanton. And what we would do is it was 7 o'clock every Wednesday morning. So I was 23, punk kid. I would, I had it down to where, I wasn't a morning person. I still really am not a morning person. I'm more of a night person. But so it was 7 o'clock. It took me 10 minutes to drive there from out my house straight there, 10 minutes. So I would literally wake up 15 minutes before the meeting, brush my teeth, put on deodorant, throw on a hat and a sweatshirt, and I was at that meeting. So that was my every Wednesday routine. And so after going for about a couple years, we'd all talk about like who we referred business to, and you'd all kind of, what any specials you had going on. But something that happened is we did this like kind of one-on-one speed networking kind of thing. And I sat across from the caterer that was part of the group. And I said, hey, I've never got a piece of business from you, what's it going to take to get a piece of business from you? And she just blah. You better show up here like you want to be in business. You show up like you're a punk kid and with your hat on backwards and in a sweatshirt, and you need to do, and she gave it to me. And so the very next,
She was waiting for you to ask
right? I
her.
know, huh? Well, the funny story is, so then I listened to her. I showed up with a shirt and tie to the next event. And then it was like, came the next event after, shirt and tie, ready to go. And then it was like, oh, I need to go buy more shirt and ties. So then I had to go buy some clothes because I wasn't, I had
You're like, the two I have are
yeah,
now
exactly. Back
exhausted.
then, yeah, it was like that's
Yeah.
all I had. So it was funny. So then so every week I'd show up in a shirt and tie, and it took 6 months until she gave me the first piece of business. And then she gave me
Well, because at that point in time, she was just being spiteful. I'm just
no. The funny thing is, she is my to this day. She compiles 60% of my revenue. So
wow.
yeah, yeah.
She was playing a long game with you,
Well, so
sir.
for me, it was perseverance, and I'm very competitive by nature, so I was going to win her over no matter what, at all costs, so to speak. There's been times that even looking back, like there's a venue that I wanted to get on their preferred vendor list. I worked and worked and worked on that venue. It took me 4 years, but then once again, they're one of the ones that we work at regularly. So you got to have that perseverance. And I always say it's a 3-year process. So you got to remember that sometimes. So like if you join a networking group or if you get in somewhere or you meet someone new, it's going to take really almost 3 years until you see it all come to fruition. So
I love that. Show up like you mean it.
yeah.
Be patient with the process. Be moldable and coachable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And realize that when someone is trying to help you out, you should probably listen to them because you're going to be helped with them. And I'm sure that you showing up better for your business got you other business in that
Well,
6 months
I'm
as
sure,
well.
yeah, because it became the joke. Oh, Reed, who else do we need to? They would make fun of the tire guy that shows up, in,
Yeah.
in his mechanic wear. And anyway, it was because it wasn't all just wedding and events. We had a lawyer and a therapist and a graphic art. We had all kinds of people in that group. It was fun. It was a good thing. I would never do it again in a million years because where I am in my business, because I just am not a morning. Well, and I have kids, so that's part of it too. So kids.
Yeah.
I got to get the kids out to school and all that. It would be rough to do that all over again, but it was the best thing that I ever did. So it was so perseverance, and being able to listen and be moldable. I think that's part of it too, because it's hard to hear criticism from folks, especially. There'll be, and I think you have to learn to ask for the criticism. Like, hey, we do business with each other. Am I easy to work with? Do I make it easy for you? Or what are some of the things I can improve? Because if you never know, you could be irritating someone that you work with, but you don't have any idea until you ask. So we started doing that a while ago too, is just pulling some vendors aside and saying, hey, how's our team to work with? What can we do to make your day better on the event day? Like what can we do throughout the planning process? And sometimes we've gotten some really amazing ideas out of that, and sometimes you hear it and you're like, you got to take your lumps sometimes too. So,
And if you don't, this goes back to the theme that you were talking about before about change. Being able to hear where you are off course helps you get back on course. But if you just would rather not hear it, you'll just go off into the wilderness
yeah.
and wonder why all of a sudden you're not making any money.
Well,
Inviting in that criticism is a money making move.
Well, and we all are going to make mistakes. None of us are perfect. We're all going to make mistakes, and so that's a big thing that I always come back to with my staff. Like after something happens or some mistake happened, it's like, what did we learn, and how are we never going to make this mistake again? And we talk about it as a team, and we grow, and that's how we all grow, and the business grows. So,
Yep. One of our core values here at Flourish Marketing is no shame and blame. We change and we move like with the flexibility of seasoned yogis.
mhm.
So we accept that there will be moments where we will stumble.
No,
That's part of life. Absolutely.
and that's your growth. That because if you are perfect, you're never going to grow. So you got to learn to fail as well as succeed. So
Exactly. Now, Kevin, we
Yes,
have
ma'am.
come to my favorite part of the episode, which is the journal prompt question. For all of you listeners out there, the journal prompt question is the question that you can take back and answer on your own in your own journal time. And Kevin has graciously volunteered to give you some insight and answer it for you to inspire you in your journal time. So, Kevin, are you ready
I'm
for
ready.
your journal prompt question? Okay, let's do this thing. Your question is, how are you cultivating your relationships based on your unique qualities?
All right. So the biggest thing that I've learned to do over the years is to be, to make ourselves different. And so from working the events to try to work hard, like one thing that we'll do is we help when we see a need that makes us different. We're not standing there waiting for something to happen. But the biggest thing is to try to celebrate holidays that are not the typical holidays that you would celebrate throughout the year. So with that said, is if you go to Google and put in national holidays, believe it or not, there's multiple holidays every single day. And you can find National Chocolate Chip Day and National Pizza Day and all these other different kind of holidays. And before you know it, you can find something to celebrate, to put yourself out there. Something else that we've done is we turned one of our vans into an ice cream truck, went and bought a bunch of Whole Foods popsicles, and went to all the different vendors and venues that we work with and delivered popsicles on a triple digit day that we were having. We don't get many triple digit days out here, but when we do, it gets real hot. So that was something fun. And, we try to be fun. That's always our brand, to make ourselves different and be fun. So.
I love that. So, and I hope that you, listener out there, are able to use some of that as an example for things that you can do. Take some of Kevin's creativity and change juice that he's used to be a successful business owner and make it work for you. Well, Kevin, this has been an amazing interview. I feel very inspired to kind of
Well,
look at
good.
my own life and business and be like, if I was Kevin and I was taking my step way back and thinking of different ways, how could I do that? So I love that. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I always enjoy talking with you. So.
Before we go, make sure to let people know, where can they find you to get in touch with you?
Perfect. Instagram, throw Wedding IQ on Instagram, FSES events on Instagram would be for Fantasy Sound, fantasysound.com, weddingiq.com, or you can get me at Kevin at Wedding IQ or Kevin at fantasysound.com. So
All of the ways. Thank you
all
so
the
much.
ways.
You cannot say that you are hidden. That's for
No,
sure.
I'm out there.
Well, thank you for joining us. It has been a pleasure.
No, thank you. I always enjoy, like I said, always enjoy talking with you.
This episode is brought to you by Own It, the energy-centered monthly membership program you need to build your thriving six-figure empire in 12 months without feeling burned out, overwhelmed, or lost. After having reached six figures in 5 months, Alea created Own It because she discovered the only way to leave a legacy of abundance is to own your business instead of it owning you. Ditch the guesswork and hustle mentality that lead to daunting 18-hour days, missed family dinners, and stress-induced rashes. In Own It, you will join a supportive community of your fellow empire builders to take a holistic, step-by-step approach to craft a flourishing business and life via proven marketing frameworks, money-making business strategy, and centering alignment techniques. To join, head over to www.flourishmarketing.co/own-it. Your life has a greater purpose beyond the struggle. Join Own It today at www.flourishmarketing.co/own-it.
Wow, some dollars come hard and some will come easy. Do you have burnout or do you burn bright? Have you scheduled time with yourself? Do you have a reward system? Do you actively ask for criticism? Do you use adversity as a way to improve? And are you finding opportunity in adversity? All of those things were swirling around in our interview here today with Kevin. I really appreciated the elevation he gave to the content and his perspective as we were able to dive into different facets of business ownership, hearing from a business veteran. I hope you also got a lot out of this interview. If you would like to listen to more, make sure you join us here on the Flourishing Entrepreneur podcast every single Wednesday. We drop new episodes with new expert interviews, guided meditations, and vulnerability coaching sessions so that you can learn from the best in the biz and, more importantly, from yourself on how to flourish in business and life. Until next time, I'm Alea Harris, sending you lots of love, light, and abundance, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. Dive into the show notes at www.flourishmarketing.co/podcast and connect with Alea at Flourishing Entrepreneur on Instagram. Vibing with what you hear? Leave a 5-star review to spread the love and be sure to click subscribe. From the entire Flourish Marketing team, we wish you love, light, and abundance. See you next time.